Well, the high cost of fertilizer and fuel has added insult to injury to this year's weather-reduced wheat crop. But what is a problem for some has turned actually into an opportunity for others, and an interesting solution to the challenge of how to meet the demand for food while preserving the land around it. It's a story that takes us back to last fall when Oklahoma farmers were planting their wheat, not yet aware of just how costly this year's crop would become. Fall is planting season in western Oklahoma, preparing the ground for another year's wheat crop.
This pasture out here, we sowed the wheat and then grazed and then probably cut for grain. That's if everything works, and that's rare.
Jeremy York is accustomed to contending with everything from weather to insects. But this year, like farmers across the state, he's facing a new challenge: the high cost of energy-based products, namely fuel and fertilizer. Jeff Craybill serves on the Oklahoma Wheat Commission.
Our main concerns right now is our input cost. As every American knows right now that fuel is high and is cutting into their pocketbook, and likewise in the agriculture industry. And of course, fertilizer is one of our major inputs, and the price of fertilizer has tripled over the last 2 or 3 years.
That's because natural gas is a key component in making commercial nitrogen fertilizer.
If I add X number of dollars of fertilizer, what's going to be the result of doing that? And so it's a guessing game.
A high-stakes game farmers are betting their crop yields and their livelihoods on.
If we can get something that can average 30 bushel a year, we're happy.
Which may not be good enough with prices where they are. Input costs on a single acre of wheat have now reached $260. So just to break even, farmers will need to raise 35 bushels an acre with wheat prices at $8 a bushel.
That is our state average, is 35 bushels an acre. So an average crop won't make you money. You have to be above the state average in order to be able to turn a profit if you have $8 wheat, and we don't have $8 wheat today.
But the answer to such a dilemma may be a lot easier and a lot closer than anyone has ever imagined. I'm here in eastern Oklahoma, which is home to a poultry industry worth about $500 million. And with all those birds comes all the stuff they leave behind. It's called poultry litter. It's a mixture of molten feathers and poultry waste. But poultry waste may be a poor term because experts say poultry litter is both an efficient and very effective fertilizer.
When I think of animal waste, I think of it more as an animal resource and something that we can use as an ag commodity, as an organic fertilizer.
And according to waste management specialist Josh Payne, in eastern Oklahoma, there's plenty of it. Poultry houses dot the landscape, home to millions of birds. And for generations, farmers and ranchers here have used poultry litter instead of commercial fertilizers.
Poultry litter is a great organic fertilizer source. It's loaded with nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. It also has organic matter, so it's a very beneficial soil amendment that many producers can use.
But too much of it is not good. Over-applying any fertilizer can mean excessive nutrients that then can wash from the land into surface water. In 2005, Oklahoma Attorney General Drew Edmondson filed suit against several poultry companies to hold them liable for phosphorus runoff he believes comes from poultry spread in the Illinois rivershed. Ultimately, if this litigation does go all the way through its course, what would be the best results for the state of Oklahoma?
Well, the best result would be both a thriving poultry industry, both in Arkansas and Oklahoma, and the processing of the litter in a way that does not adversely impact the environment. I'd like to see our rivers restored to what they were in the 50s and 60s and 70s, the purity and clarity of the water that we enjoyed back then. I'd like to see our farm operations continuing to go and the poultry industry continuing to thrive. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and they can afford to process their waste like every other company and industry in America does.
over the past several weeks, we've got to visit with some farmers in northeastern Oklahoma, and there's a great concern out there among many of them of the law of unintended consequences. While you may be going directly after the out-of-state poultry companies, they, in fact, may be the ones that get hurt in this lawsuit.
And we're doing our best to avoid that. And obviously, if in a negotiated settlement, you've got more latitude to construct it in a way that there are no unintended consequences. That's a little more difficult if we actually end up going to trial and get a jury verdict or a court verdict. It's a little harder to construct that than it is to construct a negotiated settlement. But I would ask them, as they consider that, and it's a very real concern, to look what's happened in Tulsa's lawsuit in the Uchee-Spavinaw watersheds, where they reached a negotiated agreement. And today, 70% of the waste is being trucked out of Uchee-Spavinaw. And to my knowledge, no poultry operation is shut down, no company went out of business, no farmer had to close his chicken houses, and the industry is proceeding as it did before, except they're not putting that waste down on the ground. I think we can achieve that same result in the Illinois River watershed and the other watersheds of eastern Oklahoma.
Which could well happen thanks to the high price of commercial fertilizers. For the past 4 years, Oklahoma farmer Randy Wadle has bought chicken litter in eastern Oklahoma to spread on his farm in central Oklahoma.
And I learned why they call it litter. They don't just call it manure because there's a lot of other stuff in it, chicken bedding and just everything that comes out of a chicken house. But the fact of the matter is, it's just a very fine material that when you spread it on the ground, you can see as I crumble it, you can see how fine it is. A little bit of rain or tilling it into the ground, it's amazing what it does to your soil.
All of these nutrients that are contained in poultry litter are essential for plant growth or crop growth. We see approximately 70% of the soils in Oklahoma are actually deficient in phosphorus. So if we can take some of this phosphorus-rich poultry litter and transport it to parts of central Oklahoma or western Oklahoma that could use that nutrient, that's a very viable option. Because of what they have to pay for those same nutrients at commercial fertilizer, they're finding those same nutrients for a cheaper price in poultry litter. Now, it's going to depend on transportation and the distance from the source of the litter that will dictate how far you can actually haul poultry litter before it reaches a break even. However, due to price increases in commercial fertilizer, we're seeing that we can reach that break even much further west, meaning we can haul or transport poultry litter much further west in Oklahoma than we ever have been before.
We get nutrient tests on every house cleaning that we get litter from. And you get about 45 pounds of calcium too. So you get NP and K, you also get calcium. And the other thing you get is organic material, carbon, pure carbon. I mean, it builds your soil. And with, 500, 600, 700 pounds of pure carbon per ton, you're not just fertilizing, you're improving the value, the tilth of your soil.
Sounds like you're pretty sold on
it. It makes sense.
So if all this makes so much sense economically, I bet you're wondering if it makes as much sense environmentally. Well, from all indications, the answer is a resounding yes. Soils here in western Oklahoma are significantly different than soils in eastern Oklahoma. To add to that, our state's Ag Department also now has very tight, stringent controls in place that make it virtually impossible for anyone to over-apply poultry litter anywhere in our state.
I'm a card-carrying litter spreader. I went to 9 hours of education before they would give me a card to spread litter. My wife has a concealed carry gun license, and she didn't even have to go to that much class. So, when you think about it, I've got to have 3 hours of continuing education to spread litter. Mary packs her pistol without any continuing education, so I guess somebody thinks that chicken litter is more dangerous than a pistol.
Now for a postscript to our story. Last fall, a federal judge denied an injunction to completely stop the spreading of poultry litter in the Illinois River watershed. Now, despite that ruling, the case against poultry companies is still set to go to trial this September. In the meantime, poultry producers exported a record amount of poultry litter out of the affected watershed last year. According to an industry group, 85,000 tons of poultry litter was shipped to farms as far away as southwestern Oklahoma. But according to evidence supplied by the state in the federal lawsuit, that amount is still less than 1/4 of what the industry produces each year. Meanwhile, farmers like Wadle have been taking advantage of what appears to be an abundant resource. That too could change, though, thanks to the laws of supply and demand. The price of commercial fertilizer is now less than 1/2 of what it was last fall. Yet that also could change as the price of natural gas rises and falls. Now, if you'd like to see our complete interview with Attorney General Drew Edmondson or meet a poultry grower and hear what he thinks about all this, simply head to our website at okhorizon.com and click on this week's Value Added.